With his towering 6'9" frame and deep, resonant voice, Ted Cassidy was an unforgettable presence. He is overwhelmingly famous for his role as Lurch, the Frankenstein's monster-esque butler of the Addams family. His two most famous lines, the deep, drawn-out, "You rang?" and his grunting moans, became national catchphrases. Cassidy's role was originally intended to be non-speaking, but during one take, he ad-libbed the "You rang?" line, and the producers loved it so much it became his signature. He also played Thing, the disembodied hand, in many scenes where it appeared alongside Lurch. His physical presence and surprisingly gentle comedic timing made Lurch a beloved character. Cassidy's unique attributes kept him busy beyond the Addams mansion. He was a prolific voice actor, lending his bass tones to numerous animated characters, including the title character in the 1979 The Incredible Hulk series, providing the roars and growls for the transformed David Banner. He also had a notable on-screen role as the formidable Bigfoot in a famous two-part episode of The $6 Million Man. In his personal life, he was highly intelligent and well-read, a stark contrast to the lumbering characters he often portrayed. In January of 1979, Cassidy underwent open-heart surgery at St. Vincent Medical Center in Los Angeles to remove a benign tumor. While he was recovering at his home in Woodland Hills, complications arose. He was readmitted to the hospital and passed away on January 16, 1979, at the young age of 46. The circumstances of his final resting place are as unique as the man himself. His body was cremated, and it has been reported by his family that his ashes were buried in the backyard of his former home. There is no formal grave marker or public memorial. The final resting place of the man who played Lurch is a quiet, private spot in a suburban Los Angeles yard. An unconventional end for an unconventional and beloved performer. Long before he shaved his head to play the gleefully macabre and light-bulb-illuminating Uncle Fester on The Addams Family, Jackie Coogan was one of the biggest movie stars in the world. As a child actor in the silent film era, he became a global sensation after starring opposite Charlie Chaplin in the 1921 classic, The Kid. His success was unprecedented, but his childhood earnings were squandered by his mother and stepfather, leading to a famous lawsuit that resulted in the passage of the California Child Actors Bill, now known as the Coogan Act, which protects the earnings of child performers. His transition to adult roles was difficult, but he continued to work, serving in the U.S. Army in World War II as a glider pilot. In 1964, he found a second wave of immense fame in a role that couldn't have been more different from his tear-jerking performances as a child. As Uncle Fester, Coogan became a cornerstone of the ghoulishly funny Addams clan. His bizarre antics, high-pitched giggle, and love for all things explosive made him a fan favorite and secured his place in television history. After the show ended, he continued to appear in numerous films and television shows, always recognizable to a generation of fans as the delightfully deranged Fester. Coogan suffered from heart and kidney ailments in his later years. On March 1, 1984, he passed away from heart failure at the Santa Monica Medical Center at the age of 69. He was buried at Holy Cross Cemetery in Culver City, California, a prominent resting place for many stars of the entertainment industry. His grave is marked with a simple, flat bronze plaque set in the grass alongside other members of his family. It's an incredibly modest marker for a man who was, at two different points in his life, one of the most famous faces on the planet. Forrest Tucker was a veteran actor of stage and screen with a commanding presence and a career that spanned nearly 5 decades. But for a generation of television viewers, he will always be the scheming, conniving, yet somehow lovable Sergeant Morgan O'Rourke on the Western sitcom F Troop. Alongside his bumbling partner Corporal Agarn, played by Larry Storch, Tucker's sergeant, O'Rourke was the mastermind behind O'Rourke Enterprises, the hilariously corrupt and unofficial business arm of Fort Courage. His gruff voice and sly grin were perfect for the role, and his comedic chemistry with the rest of the cast was a key reason for the show's cult status. Before he ever set foot in Fort Courage, Tucker had a long career playing tough guys and villains in over 100 films. He served as an officer in the United States Army Cavalry during World War II. After F Troop, he continued to work extensively, including a notable run on Broadway, replacing Robert Preston as Professor Harold Hill in The Music Man. A lifelong, heavy smoker, Tucker was diagnosed with lung cancer in his later years. In a famous incident, during the ceremony for his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in August of 1986, he appeared gaunt and was barely able to speak. He knew his time was short. He collapsed shortly after the ceremony and was hospitalized. Forrest Tucker passed away a few months later, on October 25, 1986, at the age of 67. He was buried at Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills Cemetery. His grave is a simple, flat bronze plaque set in the lawn, a common choice in this particular cemetery. The marker is dignified but unremarkable, a very humble final post for the man who so memorably ran the hilariously chaotic Fort Courage. Many remember Jack Sue as the wry, deadpan detective Nick Yamena on the classic sitcom Barney Miller, known for his terrible coffee and perfectly timed one-liners. He was an integral part of the show's ensemble, a groundbreaking role for an Asian American actor at the time. Born in Oakland, California, to Japanese parents, he was interned at the Topaz War Relocation Center in Utah during World War II, where he began honing his skills as an entertainer for fellow internees. His career took him from nightclubs to Broadway, where he was discovered for the film version of Flower Drum Song, before he eventually landed his iconic television role. Tragically, Sue's time on Barney Miller was cut short. During the show's 5th season in 1978, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. A heavy smoker for many years, Sue kept his diagnosis private from the public, and even from most of his castmates, continuing to work as his health permitted. His final appearance on the show was in the episode titled The Vandal. He passed away on January 11, 1979, at the age of 61 at the UCLA Medical Center during his cancer surgery. In a rare and poignant move for a sitcom, the show aired a special tribute episode featuring clips of his best moments, with the cast breaking character to share their memories of their friend and colleague. It was a heartfelt farewell that blurred the lines between fiction and reality. Jack Sue was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in the Hollywood Hills section of Los Angeles. His final resting place is a simple, in-ground bronze marker, a humble tribute to a man who brought quiet dignity and brilliant comedic timing to the screen. The unadorned plaque is a modest final statement for a true television pioneer. As the kind-hearted and intelligent schoolteacher Helen Crump on The Andy Griffith Show, Annetta Corsort became the quintessential small-town sweetheart and, eventually, the wife of Sheriff Andy Taylor. Introduced in the 3rd season, her character became Andy's main love interest and a beloved fixture in Mayberry. While some fans were initially hesitant to accept anyone replacing Andy's first-season girlfriend, Ellie Walker, Corsort's warm and steady performance won them over, and Helen Crump became an integral part of the show's enduring legacy. Her on-screen chemistry with Andy Griffith was palpable, and their character's wedding in the first episode of the spin-off series Mayberry RFD was a major television event. Born in Hutchinson, Kansas, Corsort studied drama at Northwestern University before moving to New York to pursue her acting career. She had a notable role in the cult classic horror film The Blob before landing her career-defining role in Mayberry. After The Andy Griffith Show ended, she continued to work steadily in television, with guest roles on shows like Bonanza, Gunsmoke, and Matlock, where she was reunited with her old friend Andy Griffith, playing a judge in several episodes. She was a respected working actress who never quite escaped the shadow of Helen Crump, a role she seemed to embrace with grace. In her later years, Corsort was diagnosed with cancer. She battled the disease privately, away from the public eye. She passed away on November 6, 1995, just 5 days after her 62nd birthday. Annetta Corsort was interred at Valhalla Memorial Park Cemetery in North Hollywood, California. Her final resting place is marked by a simple, flat bronze plaque, flush with the lawn. The marker is understated and modest, bearing just her name and dates, a quiet final tribute to the woman who won Sheriff Taylor's heart and became Mayberry's favorite teacher. With his imposing stature, piercing eyes, and commanding voice, Raymond Burr dominated the television screen for decades, most notably in 2 iconic, long-running roles. As the brilliant and unbeatable defense attorney Perry Mason, he became the definitive image of a lawyer for an entire generation. He played the role from 1957 to 1966, and later reprised it in a series of popular television movies. After a brief hiatus, he returned to television as the wheelchair-bound, sharp-minded police consultant in Ironside, another massive hit that ran for 8 seasons. Burr's on-screen persona was one of intelligence, authority, and unwavering integrity. In his personal life, Burr was an intensely private man. He cultivated a complex backstory for himself that was later revealed to be largely fictional, including stories of a deceased wife and son. In reality, he was a gay man who had a long-term relationship with his partner, Robert Benavides. For over 30 years, they lived a quiet life together, running a successful orchid business and a vineyard. In 1993, Burr was diagnosed with kidney cancer. He chose not to undergo surgery, opting instead to spend his final months completing his last television movies and spending time with friends. He passed away on September 12, 1993, at the age of 76. His final wishes were to be buried far from the Hollywood spotlight. He was laid to rest in his family's plot at Fraser Cemetery in New Westminster, British Columbia, Canada, the town where he was born. His grave is marked by a simple, flat stone bearing his name, dates, and a small cross. It's a quiet, unassuming resting place in his native land, a world away from the fictional Los Angeles courtrooms and crime scenes where he became a television legend. As the bumbling, sweet-natured, and utterly magical Aunt Clara on Bewitched, Marion Lawn captured the hearts of audiences and stole nearly every scene she was in. Her portrayal of the well-meaning but magically inept witch, whose spells invariably went awry, was a masterstroke of comedic genius. Aunt Clara's signature quirk was her collection of doorknobs, a hobby that perfectly encapsulated her eccentric charm. Lawn's performance was so beloved that it earned her a posthumous Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a comedy series in 1968. Before television, she had a long and distinguished career on the stage in both New York and London, often appearing in plays written by her husband, the playwright Walter C. Hackett. During her time on Bewitched, she was adored by the cast, particularly Elizabeth Montgomery, who saw her as a grandmotherly figure. Lawn's gentle and slightly befuddled on-screen persona was reportedly very close to her real-life personality. She brought a genuine warmth to the role that could not be faked. On May 9, 1968, just 10 days before the Emmy Awards ceremony, Marion Lawn passed away from a heart attack in her Manhattan apartment at the age of 84. Her death occurred shortly before production was to begin on the show's 5th season. Her character was not recast but was lovingly mentioned in subsequent episodes. Her ashes were interred in a niche in the Iris Columbarium at Ferncliff Cemetery and Mausoleum in Hartsdale, New York. It is the same cemetery where other luminaries like Judy Garland and Ed Sullivan are laid to rest. Her final resting place is a simple, dignified bronze plaque on a marble wall, a quiet and traditional memorial for an actress who brought a unique and unforgettable brand of magical chaos to one of television's most beloved sitcoms. For 9 seasons, he was the man who never won. As District Attorney Hamilton Berger on Perry Mason, William Tallman had the unenviable task of being the perpetual legal adversary to Raymond Burr's unbeatable defense lawyer. Despite his character's dismal conviction record against Mason, Tallman portrayed Berger with dignity and skill, creating a believable and often sympathetic character. The audience knew Berger was a competent lawyer. He just had the bad luck of always facing a legal genius who had an obviously innocent client. Tallman's performance was essential to the show's dramatic formula, providing the perfect foil for Mason's courtroom brilliance. A heavy smoker for most of his life, Tallman was diagnosed with lung cancer in 1967. Knowing his time was limited, he made a courageous and historic decision. He became one of the first actors to film an anti-smoking public service announcement for the American Cancer Society. In the short film, he is seen walking through a park with his children as he says, "Before I die, I want to do what I can to leave a world free of cancer for my 6 children." The powerful message concluded with a shot of his empty chair and the words, "I'm William Tallman, and if you smoke, don't." It was one of the most powerful anti-smoking ads ever made. William Tallman passed away on August 30th, 1968, at the age of 53, shortly after filming the spot. He was cremated, so he has no formal grave. However, a cenotaph, or memorial marker, was placed in his honor at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles. The bronze plaque is set on a stone wall and bears his name, dates, and a powerful epitaph, "The Unvanquished." It's a fitting and defiant final word for the actor who played television's most famous loser, but who, in his final days, became a true and unforgettable hero in the fight against smoking. As the bumbling, monocled Colonel Wilhelm Klink on Hogan's Heroes, Werner Klemperer created one of television's most iconic and ironically beloved antagonists. He played the inept commandant of Stalag 13 for all 168 episodes of the series, earning 2 Emmy Awards for his performance. What many viewers didn't know was that Klemperer, born in Cologne, Germany, was the son of a renowned Jewish conductor. His family fled the Nazi regime in 1933, eventually settling in Los Angeles. Klemperer served in the United States Army during World War II, and he only accepted the role of Colonel Klink on the strict condition that the character would be a buffoon and that the Allies would always succeed. He refused to portray a Nazi officer as anything but a fool. After Hogan's Heroes ended its run in 1971, Klemperer distinguished himself as a talented concert narrator and an accomplished stage actor, earning a Tony Award nomination for his role in the musical Cabaret. He continued to work in television, often guest starring in roles that played against his famous type. In his later years, he remained active in projects related to the Holocaust, speaking about his family's experiences and the importance of remembrance. Werner Klemperer passed away from cancer on December 6, 2000, at his home in Manhattan at the age of 80. In keeping with a life that saw him cross oceans to find freedom and a new home, his final wishes were for his body to be cremated. His ashes were then scattered at sea. There is no grave to visit, no headstone to mark his passing. His final resting place is the vast, open ocean, a boundary-free memorial for a man who escaped tyranny and ironically found lasting fame by brilliantly satirizing his former oppressors. She was the nosy neighbor to end all nosy neighbors. As the original Gladys Kravitz on Bewitched, Alice Pierce created a television archetype that has been imitated for decades. Her character's frantic, disbelieving espionage on the magical happenings at the Stevens house was a comedic cornerstone of the show's early seasons. Peeking through curtains, standing on garbage cans, and trying to convince her bemused husband Abner that she wasn't crazy, Pierce's Gladys was a hilarious and relatable snoop. Before her television fame, Pierce was an accomplished stage actress and comedienne, known for her unique looks and sharp comedic skills, which she honed in nightclubs and Broadway productions like On the Town. What audiences didn't know was that during her entire tenure on Bewitched, Pierce was secretly battling terminal ovarian cancer. She was diagnosed before the pilot was even shot, but kept her illness private, never missing a day of work and pouring all her energy into her performance. Her castmates were largely unaware of the severity of her condition until the very end. She was a true professional, delivering a brilliant comedic performance while facing a devastating personal struggle. Alice Pierce passed away on March 3, 1966, at the age of just 48. Her final appearance on the show aired posthumously. That year, she was posthumously awarded the Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series. Her husband, director Paul Davis, accepted the award on her behalf. Following her wishes, her body was cremated, and her ashes were scattered at sea. There is no grave to visit, no monument to her short but impactful life. Her memorial is her brilliant, award-winning performance as Gladys Kravitz, a role she brought to life with incredible spirit and courage in the face of her own mortality. Every television town needs a memorable town drunk, and for the idyllic town of Mayberry in The Andy Griffith Show, that man was Otis Campbell, played with gentle, slurring perfection by Hal Smith. Otis was a lovable dipsomaniac who would frequently lock himself in the town jail to sleep it off, letting himself in with a key hidden nearby. His hilarious interactions with Sheriff Taylor and Deputy Fife were a highlight of the series, but Smith was far more than a one-note character actor. He was an incredibly versatile and prolific voice actor, lending his talents to countless animated projects. He was the original voice of Goofy's replacement, Goober, in Disney Shorts, Owl in Winnie the Pooh, and dozens of characters for Hanna-Barbera, including Elmer Fudd in a later incarnation. His voice was a constant and often unrecognized presence in the childhoods of millions. After his time in Mayberry, Smith continued his prolific voice work and made guest appearances on numerous television shows. He was also a familiar face in commercials, perhaps most famously as the know-it-all in ads for Weber's bread. He reprised his role as Otis Campbell for the 1986 reunion movie Return to Mayberry, where it was revealed that Otis was now sober and working as the town's ice cream man. In his personal life, he was a devoted family man. Hal Smith passed away in Santa Monica, California, on January 28, 1994, at the age of 77. The reported cause of death was a heart attack. He was laid to rest in the Mausoleum of the Golden West at Woodlawn Cemetery in Santa Monica. His final resting place is a simple marble niche, marked with a bronze plaque bearing his name, his wife's name, and their years. It is an understated and quiet resting place for a man whose boisterous characters and versatile voice brought so much laughter to the world. As the stout, demolition-loving Pugsley Addams on the original Addams Family television series, Ken Weatherwax became a familiar face in one of the most iconic and eccentric TV families of all time. Dressed in his signature striped shirt and shorts, Pugsley was the inventive and slightly mischievous son of Gomez and Morticia, often seen building guillotines or playing with his pet octopus, Aristotle. Although he was a main character, he was often overshadowed by the more dominant personalities of his parents, his sister, Wednesday, and Uncle Fester. Still, his presence was essential to the wonderfully bizarre dynamic of the Addams household. After the show's short, two-season run ended in 1966, Weatherwax, like many child actors of his era, found it difficult to find other roles. He was typecast as Pugsley and struggled to continue his acting career. He later voiced the character in an animated version of the show in the 1970s and made a few appearances at fan conventions. He eventually left show business behind, serving in the US Army and later working for many years as a movie studio grip and set builder, finding a comfortable life behind the camera rather than in front of it. He reportedly enjoyed the camaraderie of the crew and the stability of a regular job. On December 7, 2014, Ken Weatherwax died of a heart attack at his home in Box Canyon, California. He was only 59 years old. His family held two funerals, one for his relatives and another for his many friends in the fan community. In accordance with his final wishes, his body was cremated. His ashes were later scattered at sea in a ceremony attended by his brother, who was also a former child actor. Pugsley Addams has no permanent public resting place, a quiet and private end for a man who spent his childhood in the spotlight as part of television's most ghoulishly delightful family. He was the master of the slow burn, the king of comical exasperation. Gale Gordon was arguably television's greatest foil, most famous for his role as the perpetually apoplectic banker Theodore J. Mooney on The Lucy Show. As Lucille Ball's long-suffering boss, Mr. Mooney's sputtering rage in response to Lucy's antics was a hallmark of the series. Gordon had a long association with Ball, dating back to their radio days on My Favorite Husband. He was her first choice to play Fred Mertz on I Love Lucy, but he was unavailable due to a prior contract. He later joined her on The Lucy Show and its successor, Here's Lucy, becoming as indispensable to her later success as William Frawley was to her first. His distinct voice and impeccable comedic timing made him a television legend. Beyond his work with Lucy, Gordon was also known for playing the Principal Osgood Conklin on the hit show Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden. He was a versatile actor who specialized in playing pompous, irritable, but ultimately harmless authority figures. In his personal life, he was a quiet man who enjoyed painting and growing his own vegetables. He was devoted to his wife of nearly 60 years, Virginia. In 1995, his wife passed away. Just over a month later, on June 30, 1995, Gale Gordon died from lung cancer at the age of 89. It was a poignant end to a long and loving partnership. The couple is interred together in a crypt at one of Hollywood's most exclusive and intimate cemeteries, Pierce Brothers Westwood Village Memorial Park in Los Angeles. Their final resting place is a simple marble facing on a mausoleum wall, engraved with their names. It's a quiet, dignified resting place, a world away from the loud, comedic chaos he so masterfully orchestrated on screen. As the bumbling, dim-witted, and endlessly scheming Corporal Randolph Agarn on F Troop, Larry Storch created one of the most memorable comedic sidekicks in television history. His character's manic energy, array of funny faces, and exasperated cries of, "I'm warning you, Wilton," made him a fan favorite. His chemistry with co-star Forrest Tucker, who played his partner in crime, Sergeant O'Rourke, was the comedic heart of the show. Storch, a master of dialects and physical comedy, was nominated for an Emmy Award in 1967 for his work on the series. He was a veteran of stand-up comedy, a skilled voice actor, and a respected stage performer, long before he put on his cavalry uniform. After F Troop was honorably discharged in 1967, Storch continued a long and varied career. He lent his voice to dozens of cartoons, including the characters of Coco the Clown and Phineas J. Whoopee, and guest starred on nearly every popular television series of the era, from Kolchak, The Night Stalker, to The Love Boat. He was a beloved figure at fan conventions, always happy to greet his admirers with a smile and a classic Aegon expression. He lived an exceptionally long life, remaining active and engaged with his fans well into his 90s. Larry Storch passed away in his sleep from natural causes on July 8, 2022, at his home in New York City. He was 99 years old. Following his passing, his body was cremated. His ashes were then interred alongside those of his beloved wife of 52 years, Norma Catherine Grieve, who had passed away in 2003. They rest together in the Actors Fund of America's Cemetery section at Kensico Cemetery in Valhalla, New York. A simple, shared headstone marks their spot, a touching and humble final tribute to a lifetime of laughter and a long-lasting love. Well now, Andy. With those few words, Howard McNear, as the excitable and gossip-loving barber Floyd Lawson, would launch into another one of Mayberry's signature comical scenes. On The Andy Griffith Show, Floyd's barbershop was the town's nerve center, and McNear's portrayal of the fidgety, well-meaning barber was a masterclass in character acting. Before his television fame, McNear was a veteran of radio, where he was a standout as Doc Adams on the radio version of Gunsmoke. His distinct, slightly shaky voice and impeccable timing made him one of the most reliable character actors of his generation. He was a beloved fixture of the Mayberry cast, a key ingredient in the show's homespun charm. Midway through the show's run, in 1963, McNear suffered a debilitating stroke that severely limited the use of the left side of his body. The show's producers, unwilling to lose such a vital cast member, accommodated his physical limitations. For the remainder of his time on the show, Floyd was almost always seen sitting down or propped up, with his left hand often holding a newspaper or resting in his lap. It was a testament to his importance to the series and the loyalty of the cast and crew. Despite these efforts, his health continued to decline, and he had to leave the show in 1967. Howard McNear passed away from complications following another stroke on January 3, 1969, at the age of 63. As a veteran of the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War II, he was buried at the Los Angeles National Cemetery. His grave is marked with a standard-issue, flat government headstone, simple and uniform among the thousands of other veterans. It's a humble, dignified resting place for a man who, despite his own real-life struggles, brought so much joy and laughter to millions as Mayberry's favorite barber. Bea Benaderet was one of the most versatile and beloved character actresses of television's golden age. Though her name may not be as instantly recognizable as some of her co-stars, she was the original choice to play Ethel Mertz on I Love Lucy, but couldn't take the role due to her commitment to the George Burns and Gracie Allen show, where she played the neighbor Blanche Morton. Her warm, distinctive voice was also famous on the radio, where she was a staple of Jack Benny's program and was the original voice of Granny in the Warner Brothers Looney Tunes cartoons. She finally achieved leading lady status as Cousin Pearl Bodine on the Beverly Hillbillies, and then as Kate Bradley, the proprietor of the Shady Rest Hotel, in her own hit series, Petticoat Junction. Her role as the matriarch Kate Bradley was the pinnacle of her career. She was the warm, sensible center of the charmingly eccentric show. However, her time at the Shady Rest was tragically cut short. In 1967, she was diagnosed with lung cancer, a result of a heavy smoking habit. She missed several episodes of Petticoat Junction while undergoing treatment, but returned, albeit noticeably thinner and weaker. The cancer soon returned, and she was forced to leave the show for good early in its 6th season. Her character was said to be out of town visiting relatives, as the producers and cast hoped she would recover. Sadly, B. Benaderet passed away from lung cancer and pneumonia on October 13, 1968, at the age of 62. Her death was a shock to her fans, and a great loss to the television community. She was buried at Valhalla Memorial Park in North Hollywood, California. Her grave is marked by a simple, flat, bronze plaque. A very modest memorial for a woman whose talent and warmth were central to the success of so many classic television shows. To millions of fans, he was simply Skipper, the lovably blustery yet kind-hearted Jonas Grumby on the iconic sitcom Gilligan's Island. Alan Hale Jr. embodied the role so completely that he was rarely seen in public without his signature skipper's cap, happily greeting fans as Little Buddy. The son of a successful character actor, Hale had a long and prolific career in film and television long before he was ever shipwrecked on that uncharted desert isle, appearing in over 200 roles. But it was as the skipper of the SS Minnow that he became a permanent fixture in pop culture history. The long-suffering straight man to Gilligan's antics and the de facto leader of the castaways. After the show ended, Hale embraced his television persona. He became a successful restaurateur, opening Alan Hale's Lobster Barrel in Los Angeles, where he would often greet patrons in character. He continued to act, but he always remained the skipper to his adoring public, a role he cherished. In his later years, he was diagnosed with cancer of the thymus, a small gland located in the chest. He battled the illness privately, maintaining a positive outlook. Alan Hale Jr. passed away on January 2, 1990, at the age of 68. A lifelong lover of the sea, it was only fitting that his farewell reflected his passion. His memorial service was attended by the surviving cast members of Gilligan's Island, who remembered him as a man whose real-life persona was as warm and paternal as the character he played. Following the service, his body was cremated, and his ashes were scattered into the Pacific Ocean. Like several of his television peers, he has no physical gravesite. His memorial is the vast expanse of the ocean he so often sailed upon, both on screen and in life.